Mr. Speaker, recently 2 Chinese nationals were arrested in Michigan for having smuggled in a pathogen that would be greatly harmful to our agricultural crops and related the livestock or even the human use for these crops. A fungal pathogen known as Fusarium graminearum was identified in scientific literature as being a potential agri-terrorism weapon. This is what the 2 Chinese nationals called Yongqing Jian and Zunyang Lu brought into the country. They smuggled this pathogen in via their electronic devices, which contained also evidence of Chinese Communist Party membership, and the different methods with which they brought the pathogen in were hidden in whether it was their devices or in tissues, in various ways of smuggling it past customs. Now, we can't imagine what kind of a threat this would be towards our agricultural production in this country if something like this was allowed to get loose. They tried to get it into the University of Michigan through their test labs there, through the work that the university does in agriculture, and somehow maybe do what? Infect everything that was going through Michigan and coming out in the new crops. Some of the effects on it are in certain grains. It would be devastating, for example, in wheat and barley, maize, rice, indeed for the world's most important staple crops. It would infect these crops during their flowering stage, which then reduces the grain yield and the grain quality. The grains often would appear shriveled, bleached, or pinkish, making them unusable. Also, with these mycotoxins in here, you would have an issue which would cause toxicity to humans and animals, which would be causing them to vomiting or even worse effects in the livestock or people that would happen to use it. So what would the possible impact be? It could be billions of dollars in crop losses globally each year due to lost yield, contamination, and rejection in the market. These mycotoxins would cause vomiting, as I mentioned, liver damage, immune suppression, and reproductive defects in both humans and livestock. This is pretty nasty stuff that Chinese Communist Party is sneaking in by one means or the other into this country, in this case here at University of Michigan. It's known to be funded by the Chinese government, though the University of Michigan states it has received no funding directly from the Chinese government funding this work. But it points out that we need more clarification, more clear knowledge of the status of who is funding research, who is funding colleges, who is funding universities with things like this, because this is a bigger threat than we can imagine to the American food supply, both domestically and those who would support around the world with what we produce. So one of the 2 nationals has been accused of multiple smuggling attempts from 2022 through 2024. Again, mentioned hiding samples in the boots or mailed in a textbook, whatever they might be carrying aboard. So what are we going to do about this? Are we going to tighten up the restrictions on what is coming in through China and have closer checks of who is being allowed to import things and what is happening at our universities? Or are we just let this go and have our food supply devastated by the constant threat of people trying to undermine and break down our country? We can't have these contaminated harvests. We can't have the continued threat to the confidence people in this country and our exporters have in the American food supply. You can't overstate what this means for agriculture, what it means for the U.S. economy, what it means for our national security of the food supply we grow and the health overall of U.S. citizens. So with that, we need to do a much better job, whether it's going to be what's smuggled through our airports or who's being allowed to bring things into this country and what their research consists of and who's funding it, mainly in this case the Chinese Communist Party and their government. It's a dead serious issue. We better take it serious or we're going to be in big trouble. I yield back.
The